what you'll need is 2 balls of worsted yarn, a 36 peg loom, the tool that comes with the loom, pad and paper, and scissors and a threading needle that also comes with the loom. You'll have to start off with doing a slip knot. I lost some footage, so I had to redo an example, but usually you'll have 2 threads to make a slip knot out of. Tighten the thread around the starting peg. To start off, you'll have to put the thread around the first peg, the back then the front, the back then the front, the back, the front, and so on. As we're finishing to go around the first time, then you tighten it around the peg just to keep it in place. Push down the first row with your fingers. Then we'll do the same thing as we did for the first row, but the second time, but the back to the front, back to front, back to front, just like before. As we're finishing the second row, take your tool and take the bottom loop and pull it over the second or top loop off the peg. There will be 1 loop left on the peg. Do this all around the loom. Push down all the thread with your fingers. I also unfortunately lost this footage too, but to start the brim you have to take off the thread that's in the starting peg, and then you have to pull it to take the slip knot out, and then put it on the inside of the loom, so underneath all the threads. Also remember that when you're going around, you have to count to up to about 12 rows of yarn to have enough room for the brim. So what you're going to do now is that at the bottom of the section that you have done already, there's going to be loops. So you have to take the loops and you have to pull it back and put it on top of the pegs. Lay the tail of the section across the section, and when you put the loops over on the peg, so it'll be hidden there. Now take the bottom loop with your tool and put it over the top loop just to seal in the brim. Now that the brim is complete, you will just continue on with about 20 more rows. Don't forget that you have to be counting those to make sure you know when to stop. We usually stop around 35, but if you want it a little bit slouchier, then you can go up to 40. almost complete. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cut the thread. Now we're going to take one single thread this time. Make it about 3 feet long so it will have enough room to go around the loom. Now take your threading needle and thread the yarn through the hole. It might be a little difficult, so you can take your tool to push it through. Now that we have the yarn through the needle, what you'll be doing is taking the needle and going underneath the loop and passing the yarn through the loop. Make sure that you hold on to that thread, and you can't lose that thread or else the hat will be ruined. So make sure that you hold on to it with your starting thread. Then continue going to the other pegs. Make sure that you're holding on to the threads so you don't lose them. Finishing up here, so we unravel the thread that's holding on to the starting peg. Now put all threads, the one on the threading needle and the two beginning threads that are starting off, put them through the top of the hat so we can make it inside out, so you won't see all the knots and such that are going to be inside the hat. Take the needle off the thread. Now take the two ends of the single string and pull on them so you can tighten up and suture the top of the hat. Now make a tight knot so that it stays in place. You could make a few knots actually, and then when you're finished the single string, then tie it with the two tails so it could be extra secure. Make many knots, as you can see, and then you'll be able to cut off the strings and then turn it back on its right side and you won't see any of those knots.